What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual Relient K fans with a podcast pending in the California municipal court system. Both podcast hosts have agreed to share their thoughts on the first two songs, off 7 years ago. But will they plead the fifth, or come right out and say it? Find out next on Sadie Hawkins Pod. So, Jess.
Yes.
Are you ready to plead the fifth, or are you going to come right out and say it?
I'm going to come right out and say it. But before I do, I kind of wanted to throw it back to last week and the one I'm waiting for.
Objection.
Overruled.
Ah. You know the lingo. Damn.
So I was thinking about, after we recorded last week, that I wish that there was a female cover where they didn't change the pronouns. Because if you think about it, it becomes a whole new song. If, say, it was about a girl singing, like, to her crush about the girl that he's chasing after. So she's still waiting for him to be the one she's waiting for, but he's, like, running around after this other girl who's, like, thinks she's so cool and with it and what everybody wants. Like, he's chasing after the popular girl and she's the nerdy girl that's pining after him. Maybe this is because I was always that girl. But I was just thinking that I would have loved to have seen a cover with that, where maybe, like, you put the emphasis on different words and maybe you add in, like, pauses in different places so that you get that there's like three people in the song.
Yeah, you could definitely rework. That's a good idea. You could rework this song to be about three characters instead of just that song, last week's song. You could take that song and make it into three characters, not just two. That would be interesting. Well, we also have other news from last week. The lesser of the two, the sort of less creepy, weird, like, one, is that band in what I thought was Italy that was, like, performing in a garage with all that smoke and light.
Yes.
And they were playing really heavy.
I thought they were in, like, a downstairs kind of club. I thought that
we
they were in,
couldn't tell because there was all
yeah.
that smoke. But basically I figured out, I think they were in Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Because it all looked Italian to me, but then when I looked at the video, there was not a lot of text or explanation, or even, like, I couldn't figure out what the name of the band that was doing that cover was.
Right.
But then I just took the language in the description and put it into auto-translate, and it said Portuguese. I'm like, but the other weird news from last week is the day that we came out with the episode in which we talked about that Rutger Hauer and who was it? Let me look real quick. Rutger Hauer and Miranda Richardson. Someone had made a video where they wanted those two real life people to be a couple, so they set it to the one I'm waiting for. And it's really odd because it's just the first few seconds of their video is just footage of them in Nazi costumes because the first movie they ever did together, they were playing Nazis. But Rutger Hauer died the same day that episode came out.
Yeah, R.I.P. Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, we have the Sadie Hawkins Pod curse has already begun.
Oh, no.
Any celebrity we talk about is going to die.
Oh, no.
I know. So look out. I'm trying to think of someone funny to name, but I don't want anyone to actually die. Jeez. I don't want to be responsible. Yeah, but also, if you want to, we can play some voicemail we got since last week.
Oh.
Right? Okay. So here, let me play this. Hello, Dan and Jess. This is me, Jimmy Stewart, calling from the grave.
That does not sound anything like Jimmy Stewart.
It doesn't?
Oh.
Well, he's calling from the grave, so it might be some guy trying to con us. No, we don't have any voicemail since last week. I used to do a Jimmy Stewart impression, but I haven't tried in many years.
Call us. We're clearly very lonely.
Yes, so please send us some voicemails. We had so many last week, none this week. So please call us at 402-95-SADIE. It's a Nebraskan phone number that we got off of Google Voice. So if you live in Nebraska, it's a local call for you.
And you can also hit us up on Twitter and Instagram, both at Sadie Hawkins Pod.
Yes. We realize we keep forgetting to do the plugs at the end of the show, so we're going to start doing them at the beginning from now on. So this week we are talking about the first two songs off of 7 Years Ago. And this is the first episode we've done where I wasn't able to find time in my work week to do research on finding people's covers and stuff. So I was looking for those covers with Jessica next to me. So some of them she's already heard. We heard both of them together. But other ones I was just like, oh, this looks like an interesting person. I won't even listen to it. We're going to listen to them together at the very same time because otherwise they'd be spoiled for both of us. So that'll be an interesting experiment when we get to the cover section. But Plead the Fifth, 7 years ago.
Yes.
Where were you when this album came out, Jessica? I'll keep asking you these questions.
You would think by now I would have learned to like prepare my answer, like look specifically when it would like, nope, not going to say specifically anymore. Taking that back.
Please leave this in.
Taking it back.
You should leave this in and just say that you say the word specifically too much.
That is something that I've noticed in editing. I say the words like, which everyone does way too much.
You can't really blame yourself for that.
But also I use the word specifically a terrible amount, like way more than any person should use that word.
At least you don't use the word literally.
No.
I hate the way people use literally.
I know.
And a lot of people
That's
hate
why,
the way
though, because I know it's a Danny pet peeve.
Yeah. But this is a pet peeve that a lot of people have, and I kind of know why people overuse the word literally, because they felt like at some point in like the last 10 years, certain kinds of people I could name were like, if I use the word literally, then they'll know I mean it. My brain is literally exploding, and then you're supposed to be like, oh my God, their brain is literally exploding. I have to stop doing what I'm doing.
Get them to the hospital.
Exactly.
I don't remember what I was going to say anymore.
Where were you when 7 years ago
You would think I would look this up ahead of time and know when it was released so I could tell you exactly when. So now I need to go look that up real quick. Okay, March 6, 2007. So in college.
Yes, and this is the first Relient K album that came out after we'd met each other.
That's right.
Because we first met, and I've been getting these years wrong here and there in the first few episodes, but I always feel like we met in 2006 because that was our first full year of college, but we actually started in fall of 2005.
Right.
So we met sort of casually, just like, hi, you're a person, we know each other, we know we exist in the same space.
In like November, I think like November or December of 05.
But it wasn't until 2006 that we actually started becoming friends and actually knowing each other. So this is the first Relient K album that came out after that. I don't know if this would have come out after the famous Jess and Danny story of us actually having a conversation and me saying, who's your favorite band? And you saying, I don't know if you've ever even heard of them. And I'm like, try it. And you say Relient K. And I'm like, oh, I have Matt Thiessen's email. I don't know if this album would have come out after that.
I think this would have been after that. Yeah.
Yeah. But we definitely saw them.
Apathetic EP would have been out already, though.
Yeah. Oh, and we get to Apathetic EP. Yeah, Apathetic EP came out in support of them.
Exactly.
So that, and we definitely would have seen Relient K after this album together.
Yes.
At the tour. I actually have to look up the name of the tour. I don't remember who opened for them, but it was at the House of Blues in downtown Disney. We saw them together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was the tour where they brought out like a set of a campfire.
Yes.
And they played a Weezer song. I think it was Surf Wax America.
Surf Wax America, yeah.
And I remember it was so sad because they come out and Matt Thiessen's like, so we picked this song because we thought it would we all as a group, you, the audience, and us as the band would sing it together, but hasn't been working out that way because these children in 2007 who probably, because I was like in my early 20s, you were about 19, they weren't much younger than us,
right?
But this is when like much younger kids are starting to learn about Relient K because this was their biggest selling album,
right?
And they don't know who Weezer are, and now we're even another decade off from that. But even then, like a decade and a couple years away from Weezer's Blue album, those children, I'm sorry, I could call them children now
Danny,
because they're 10 years young.
Stop. we're really connecting with the younger audience
Yes.
right now. We need to keep being cool.
I know. We have a 19-year-old listener.
I know.
He didn't call us again this week.
Uh-oh.
But he might have realized we're not cool.
We are no longer relating to the younger generation.
No. But also, this album is sort of the beginning of me being aware of outdoorsy Relient K, which is a theme that carries on through their whole rest of their career up to now. Because I mean, maybe Matt Thiessen and Matt Hoops always loved being outdoors, but like it was never felt like a part of their sort of persona as a band, like not a part of their art that would come along with the music. And they, on the tour, they had the campfire, and on the cover of this, they're outside in their parkas or whatever you call these type of coats.
Yeah, they had a lot of those, like, that outdoor, really cute, like, drawn nature art.
Yeah.
Birds and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a subtle thing. Outdoorsiness of Relient K might have been subtle up to this point, but I think it's starting with 7 years ago, where outdoorsiness, which is not a word, but that becomes totally entwined in their personality as a band, up to the cover of Forget and Not Slow Down and the cover of Air for Free, and some of the songs themselves become more about that.
Little departure with Collapsible Lung.
Yeah.
But between this is also the lineup, the band lineup of who we've seen the most together of Relient K.
Because I still haven't tallied up all the times I saw them before I met you, but maybe I saw what people think of as the classic lineup with Brian and Dave more. I don't know if I ever saw the original drummer, Steve, but I have no idea if he was in the band the first time I saw them. Right. But I know I saw Dave, Brian, Matt, and Matt so many times, because they were just touring so much for those first 3 albums and coming through where I lived at the time. So I might have possibly seen them more than we saw this lineup together. No, yeah, because we saw this lineup probably 6 times.
Yeah, we got to a point where I could not keep track of how many times I had seen Relient K live,
which is nice.
Which is super nice. But this is the main lineup that I've seen.
Yeah.
Is with Matt, John, and then with like different drummers.
And this might actually be for like the world as a whole, what people think of as the classic lineup, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for like 2000s Christian kids, the Brian and Dave lineup might be considered the classic lineup. It's actually a lot like the Ramones. You know what? I'm thinking of this right now, but a lot of people, because there's basically Tommy people and there's Marky people, right? There's people who think of the band, the original, like the classic lineup of the Ramones is the one with Tommy in it. But when you think of the Ramones appearing in media, in television shows, in movies, and here and there, it's think of Marky, right? Like you and me, we really think of the Ramones as Marky.
Yeah.
But so many other people do think of the Ramones as Tommy. So you have these sort of 2 classic lineups. So that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Both bands start with an R. Both bands are punk AF. Yeah.
There you go, Dan. Connecting with the kids again. I like it.
Yeah. So 7 years ago, Jessica, do you know why this album has its name? We were talking about this before the show, and Jessica's like, I found this interview where Thiessen explains why the album, it's the Live at Capitol Records video, and acoustic video. And Jessica's like, I saw this interview where he explains where the album name comes from. And I had never looked it up to confirm, but I'm like, because there's 5 members and their band was 7 years old at the time, and she's like, you son of a... She's
and
like,
because
whatever.
It's their 5th album.
Yeah, and it was their 5th album. I just figured that. I kind of just figured that out at the time. I'm like, oh, 5 albums. They got 5 members now, 7 years ago. I never needed to confirm. I'm like, that's got to be what it is. And I just think you just never thought about it. You were just like, oh, it just sounds like an album. Just sounds like an album name. Did you? Am I putting words in your mouth?
I think I got it. I just didn't really think about it. I was just like, oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't... It's funny. I have a lot of favorite songs off of this album, but I didn't really think of this album as 7 years ago because I liked a lot of the singles off of this.
That's another thing we should say about this album, is it's the first album that came out for us in the iPod generation, right? Like, this is the first album that I didn't buy a physical copy, and I don't know if did
Oh
you
no,
ever
I talked about this a couple episodes ago,
Oh,
that
okay.
because you asked me which cover I had of Two Lefts, and I was
Right.
like, I didn't have a cover because I had been using iTunes since I was an early adopter, since I
Right,
was
right,
like
right, right.
15 years old.
Yeah, but I'd been buying music a couple years before you.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to record stores or CD stores actually and buying CDs. But this is the first album that I didn't buy a physical copy of until this year.
Right. I did buy, I mean, like, I bought the self-titled immediately on CD, and then I bought on CD, and also the Apathetic EP, and I actually got, I don't remember if I was like part of the fan club or what it was, but I was able to, through maybe pre-order, get the Apathetic EP signed.
Ooh.
So it came signed
Yes,
by all
I've
the
seen that
band
around.
members. Yeah.
But for me, this album came out, and now I'm like starting to transition into having an iPod, and I'm being a little pirate, and I'm just downloading my music.
No.
Oh no, I'll admit it. It was wrong. It was wrong. I know that, I know pirating music is wrong now, but now you have streaming, which
Would
is,
you steal a car?
yeah, sure. Why not? If I needed to get around. Yeah, so
Sadie Hawkinspot does not condone car
no,
stealing.
we don't. I'm saying 2007 Danny was starting to get into, like, I had, like, what was it called, Oink or something? Like, I was getting on these torrent sites that were like, you had to know someone to get you into them and all that stuff. Oink's Pink Palace, Pink's Oink Palace. It was something like that. Anyway, I think I downloaded this album, and I picked out songs that I liked, and I put them on my iPod. So unfortunately, I admit it. I was wrong. I don't need to plead the fifth. I'm coming right out and I'm saying it. I was wrong. I pirated this album, and I didn't buy a physical copy until we're like, well, I need to give back to the band, and we bought a physical copy. Please forgive me, Relient K.
This album was also their top-selling album of all time.
Yeah, they didn't need me to buy a copy. If anything, I was leaving a copy on the shelf for someone else who needed to find it. That's a good excuse. That's a good reason.
It's funny, I always think about and I'm like, this feels like it has to be the top-selling album because of Be My Escape being the big radio hit that it was, like, in the secular mainstream market.
Right.
But this was, I guess, because this was the album after, and it was Goatee and Capitol released it.
Right.
Like, it was a co-release.
Yeah.
Oh, sort of an interesting fact about this album also is that not only is this the first time that they have 5 members in the band, but it was the first time that all of the members of the band were living in a different city when they went into the writing process.
Ooh. How do you do that? I'm just kidding. I get it.
But also 2007, so
Yeah, a
no
little
like
tougher.
Skype or anything like that. Yeah,
Right.
a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
Guess conference calling.
Yeah. I'd like to know more about that. I was thinking that we need to, we're sort of starting off these first few episodes going into each first song off each album, and just getting a general feeling for where we were with the band during each album, and then discussing those songs. But as we start getting into more songs off each album, I'd like to start learning more in depth about, like, the like looking for interviews, talking about the producers that worked with them, and actual, like, decisions the band was making for each album. That's not something we're really delving into too much now, but hopefully as we get further into more songs off each album, that's something I'd like to start figuring out. Because this album does have a much different sort of vibe than the last one. It's a lot heavier, like, in general. There's it's their metal album, quote unquote. Because I know, because a year or two ago, you were like, oh, I don't even really like 5 years ago. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's so many, we might have talked about this in a previous episode as well, but you were like, I don't really like 5 years ago. I'm like, what are you talking about? This song's on it, that song's on it. What's on it? Because there's songs that we talk about all the time, like Faking My Own Suicide and Up and Up and The Best Thing, and you're like, those songs are off that album? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh.
I think I bought a lot of these as singles. Like,
Right.
The Best Thing, I know for a fact I got The Best Thing and Must Have Done Something Right as singles because they didn't even have proper album artwork. Must Have Done Something Right was like this like mint green color with just like writing.
That's
that was
like,
it.
That's
That was
like our
what-
cover as a podcast.
Yeah. It was kind of like that. And so, yeah, I know that I had The Best Thing, Must Have Done Something Right, and Faking My Own Suicide and Up and Up. I know that those are 4 songs that I really loved,
Yeah.
and maybe didn't even necessarily connect with being a part of this album. But also, like you mentioned, we were in college when this came out, and I think it was just like, it was a very, you know, college is like, it's
a busy time.
It's a very busy time.
You don't have time to like do all the same kind of pursuits you had before, and like
Yeah.
getting super in depth with every band that you're listening to.
So I think that it ended up that this album and then Forget and Not Slow Down did pass me by as like entire albums a little bit versus just like the singles off of them. Or the songs that I found and listened to and was like, oh, I really like this, and just bought it right there off of iTunes.
Right. So that's where, so that's kind of where we were when this album came out. So we can start talking about the first 2 songs. There's a little short song called Pleading the Fifth, a cappella. And on the back of the CD, there's an asterisk. And I don't know where that... Oh, produced by Mark Lee Townsend and Matthew Thiessen.
It's because Mark Lee Townsend did not produce this entire album, but he did produce the earlier ones, I believe.
So all he produced on this album was Pleading the Fifth a cappella, Crayons Can Melt on Us for All I Care, and Deathbed. So he did the 2 sort of jokey short songs, and then the longest song that they've ever recorded. That's funny. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I was talking about how this was the latest I've ever done research for the podcast. Like I could not find time to get the covers for Come Right Out and Say It. But then when we got to Plead the Fifth, we were literally sitting down to record, and I was like, oh no, I didn't look at Plead the Fifth at all. Like I didn't look on YouTube, I didn't look on Bandcamp, I didn't look on Google, I didn't do any of it. So we're sitting down and you're hearing me finding these covers while we're getting ready to record. So also, I didn't know if I wouldn't really have a lot to say about the song, but I did find, and normally this is your domain on the podcast, but since this was the short song, I'll be in charge. I guess I'll do it. The lyrics, after they get through the little lead up to it, are, that night at the theater, an impersonator died. Mr. Booth was tried. I just kept the truth inside, and in the courtroom, the judge will not catch wind of this. Up there on the stand, I'll plead the fifth. So there's like this vague thing to Abraham Lincoln, but it's kind of like a revisionist thing. It's like, I guess, an impersonator of Abraham Lincoln died, and John Wilkes Booth wasn't killed while they were on the manhunt for him.
Conspiracy theories here.
And then I kind of never paid attention to the lyrics of the song, right? I was like, oh, yeah. And then the album title is called 57 Years Ago, which is a reworked thing from Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
So what are they trying to tell us? Well, we don't have to figure it out.
Does this have a deathbed tie-in?
Oh, but what if it turned out it was Abraham Lincoln? Wouldn't that be cool? It'd be like a alternate reality science fiction story.
That'd be pretty cool, actually. I would enjoy that.
Well, we don't need to figure out what the song Plead the Fifth is about, because on songmeanings.com, people have figured it out for us. Ward, on March 18th, 2007, so hey, the album was barely just a couple days old, he said, I don't know why, but it seems that this is about Lincoln's assassination. They refer to him as an impersonator. I guess he is assuming the role of someone who knows that Booth was not the killer, or that knows that it was an impersonator. But that is the simple meaning. Knowing them, it might actually mean something. What? Catchy sound to the song. Nice opening to the CD. Let's see. Hide_seek. Again, March 19th, 2007. People were ready to talk about this album when it came out.
That's a dope name, though.
Hide_seek?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hide and the underscore. It's not the word underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I thought you thought it was otherwise.
I really wish, though, that people would in their usernames actually spell out underscore. I'm going to do that now.
There's an unproven theory that Booth wasn't shot by the police. A lookalike double agent, James William Boyd, was shot instead. The theory goes on to say that the government did lots of stuff to cover it up. Blah, blah. But the point is that this little short song is sort of a reversal of roles or something. That an Abraham Lincoln lookalike died instead of the real dude. Phew! that was quite long and boring. Kudos to anyone who actually read my paraphrase of the theory. Well, kudos to anyone who listens to us talk about your paraphrase for 3 hours.
Listen, hide_seek. There were no government presidential assassinations until Kennedy. Everybody knows that.
How do you feel about the shape of the Earth, Jessica? So... Oh, this is a nice little... This is Smart Cookie, spelled with a Y, lets us know that Pleading the Fifth is talking about the Fifth Amendment. From Wikipedia. Oh, again, this is 2007, so I didn't even know Wikipedia was around in 2007. To plead the Fifth is a refusal to answer a question because the response could form self-incriminating evidence. So I guess what I see the song as saying is that Abraham Lincoln didn't die, an impersonator did, but whoever is, quote-unquote, I in the song knows the truth, but is, quote-unquote, pleading the Fifth and not saying anything. This song is really deep. This song's scary, actually. You think Deathbed is the most upsetting song on this CD? I'm starting to get a little creeped out about this song because, like, oh my gosh, there's all these conspiracies and people died, but maybe they didn't die. This is creepy. This is scary.
I love it. I love a good mystery to solve. Let's call up Nancy Drew.
Well, so I pulled up a couple of covers for this song. I was surprised that there were covers. You know, it took me a long time to actually find covers for Come Right Out and Say It. Mm-hmm. But I found covers for Plead the Fifth almost immediately. The first cover is the ISU Cleft Hangers 2011 spring concert, because it turns out that a cappella groups just love singing this song. This is a really bad video. I didn't send it to you. I'm just playing the audio, but it's like one of those classic slightly cursed things where everyone is just made out of giant pixels and JPEGs.
Right.
It's only 2011 as well, and then there's a guy right in front. There's just a guy's shoulder in a third of the footage. Do you want to see the image?
Sure. I do appreciate the punny names of a cappella groups.
That's all.
It's the only thing I appreciated about a cappella groups.
A cappella groups and improv groups. It's like you just have to have the worst names possible. They're always puns, or they're just like bad.
Also, I do want to say I like this a cappella song, and I'm not a huge a cappella fan.
Why not?
I don't know. I have a friend who listens to, what's that really famous one? The Tectonics or something? I don't know.
Oh, the Pentatonics?
That's it. She listens to that, and I'm in the car sometimes, and I'm just like, ugh. I don't know what it is. I apologize. Oh, do you know who's really good? Who's an a cappella band?
Who?
Naturally Seven.
Oh, that's right. We've seen them a couple of times because they were always touring with Michael Bublé.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because Danny looks like a little old Russian woman.
I tied a white t-shirt over my head because it's so hot that I'm sweating a little bit. So I tied an old white t-shirt over my head like a babushka just to keep the sweat. We have another cover from Willie Nova. What's this called? Villanova. I've heard of that. Villanova University. They did a cover of Must Have Done Something Right and Plead the Fifth. So let's just hear their Plead the Fifth cover. They're a little off. Which is funny that the video that's shot much better, they don't sound as good, but the video that's shot horribly, they sounded pretty good. We also have...
Please take the something off your head. I cannot take you seriously.
Okay. That's fine. Ooh, and we've mentioned him before, but my friend who I used to go to Relient K concerts with all the time, and Relient K remembered my name and his name, was my friend Johnny Wright. Well, here we have Jonathan Allen Wright doing a cover of Pleading the Fifth.
Impersonator died. Mr. Booth was right. I just kept the truth inside. But in the courtroom, the judge will not catch wind of this. But they're on the stand of pleading.
I like that one a lot.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's just SoundCloud. Picking something else.
That was very Beach Boys-esque. Which the actual song Plead the Fifth is also very Beach Boys-esque, so I like that a lot.
Yeah, this is kind of keep along with their Beach Boys.
Who is a big inspiration for Matt Thiessen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just sent you a video that you'll actually have to play on your computer.
Okay.
So that you can see a little bit of it. This is called Plead the Fifth Hamster Style.
Oh, what? Okay. Hold on.
That's basically... It's funny that they call that hamster style because that's basically Nightcore, which we're going to talk about a Nightcore version of Come Right Out and Say It.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Nightcore is where you just take a song and you speed it up.
Oh,
and
it's
then
the
you
opposite of Vaporwave.
Yeah, actually it is. But you just take a song, you speed it up, and you put some anime art when you upload it. That's Nightcore.
That's semi-Vaporwave-esque, though. Which is the opposite.
So this person made a Nightcore version of Hamster Style. I mean, they made a Nightcore version of Pleading the Fifth, but they called it Hamster Style. But what's odd about the video, it's from 2007. Oh, the album had only been out a month. And the video is of this person in their bedroom on a 2007 camera. So it's super pixelated, super washed out colors. They're wearing this hat.
Looking very 2007.
Looking very 2007, and there's like a nuclear holocaust happening in the window over their shoulder. Just another Relient K fan cursed in their bedroom video.
Yep. So much green and purple.
Sent you another video.
Okay.
I don't have to play the audio from this one because it's just the audio from the album, so you can just listen to it on your headphones. But someone put together a little edit of the song. Tell me what you think of this one.
Red Panda's Do-Rock. Interesting. It is a slideshow of red pandas.
Red pandas, the animal, the red pandas. At first I was like, oh, is the red pandas like some team? No, they're actual red pandas set to this song.
Aw, it's so cute.
I don't know if this deepens the conspiracy theory at all. Like somehow a red panda was to blame for the false assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And last one. Let us see. One more cursed fan video. Again, it's the real song, so you can just watch the video with your headphones on. Tell me what you think of this.
Oh, this is like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Again, June 2007. The album is brand new.
This is the most Lynchian thing I have ever seen.
Even more than the Portuguese band from last week. This is Lynchian. It's a guy in a suit in black and white with like false film scratches all over. he cuts it really well. He keeps cutting to handheld camera again, basically selfie style.
Yeah.
And then to the camera down,
and it cuts into
to
like
his feet.
his feet and
Cuts up
his
to
mouth
his
close
face.
up, and then he's got some medium shots in there, and
And he's just lip syncing along to the song.
yeah, wow.
It's nice how songs can inspire other art. So that's about it for Plead the Fifth. I want to move on. This song's too spooky. From the premise of the song to the fact that there's no instruments, that just scares me. To the fan videos it inspired. Red pandas, those creep me out. I don't want anything to do with this song anymore, so...
I apologize for the delirious nature of this episode.
It's hot. We discussed it. Let's just be sincere and come right out and say it. It is one hot-ass day.
It really is.
So, and we can't... If we could have the air conditioner on, but Jessica's like, no, I want the podcast to sound good. So, come right out and say it. The first, full song off of this album. And just a little peek behind the curtain. It is so hot that we paused right there and we took a little cool down break. And Jessica was rocking out to some LMNTO.
Element,
the boy band from the early 2000s. Who, in a way, are kind of the closest band there is to Relient K when you really think about it.
Who also we mentioned last week when I was talking about concerts I had been to before
Right.
K. Yep.
We're in a better attitude to talk about the main song. Much cooler in this apartment. Engineer April is doing great. She's lying on the floor, nice and cool. She's fine. But we are ready to come right out and say it. What we think of this song. So, Jessica.
Yes.
Why don't you just come right out and say it? You think you're being so kind. Why don't you just come right out and say what you think of this song?
This is a song that I had not listened to in probably a few years.
Right, because we never really listened to this CD as a whole too
As a
much.
whole,
I have
too much, yeah.
over the last couple of years on streaming,
Right.
but neither of us ever owned a copy. And like you said, you basically listened to it by select songs you bought off iTunes.
Yeah. I had listened to this song before, and I wasn't a huge fan. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. However, over the past week of prep that I've been doing for this episode, I have started to enjoy it a lot more. It's very catchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like this song a lot. I actually like this album, which is crazy that this is the first album that I didn't buy legally, because I have more of a connection to the songs on this album as a whole than I do to We talked about it last week, but basically I understand that artistically was the band kind of reaching a pinnacle at that point. They'd taken the first three albums and finally taken everything they learned from those and made what's essentially a perfect album in their fourth album.
Right.
But for whatever reason, those songs, maybe it's because I didn't form as many very specific happy memories with those songs that I did with the first three albums. I don't have an attachment to those actual tunes. Not the album, not to criticize the album, it's just each individual song on I don't have a direct emotional positive, overwhelmingly positive memory of those songs. For some reason, with this album, I do have that. I think it's because this is around the time we met, and this is the time around the time we're listening to Relient K together, and we're going to see them live in Orlando, and then when we moved out of Orlando and all that. So I really like this album as a whole. It's a lot heavier, right off the bat compared to the previous album. I think I mentioned this at the top of the show, but it has a heavier guitar on most of the songs than you would have found on
It is a perfect companion piece to though.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the same vein. It's from the same era of Relient K.
It's clearly it's very obviously where Two Lefts and Anatomy of Tongue in Cheek are sort of built upon each other. They're sort of album sequels to each other.
Right.
You can see how starts a new chapter, and this album sort of built upon an even stronger foundation for the album, for the band as a whole. So I really like this song a lot because I like almost all the songs on this album. this kind of listening back to it this week, I was also thinking like it's subtle, but there's sort of talking about this song specifically now. It's subtle, but there's sort of a timestamp on it that I didn't quite hear at the time, right?
Yes.
But I actually listened to it and I'm like, there's a vague thing in here that basically makes me think of like dance punk was happening by 2007. Like you have the Killers and you have Panic at the Disco and maybe some later My Chemical Romance can be put in that thing, but then Paramore definitely has some stuff like that. It's basically what you think of as like big arena post pop punk, like this next sort of like stadium version of pop punk. This has that kind of vibe, like the Killers in a way. It kind of has that sort of like very emotional but very heavy rock
Right.
tone to it, which is, I feel, separate from what people think of as emo core,
Right.
and that sort of thing. Like this is almost like it's a little less teenage. Like emo core is almost like a sort of a teenage thing, even if the band themselves aren't necessarily. It like appeals to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not downgrading.
I think this still appeals to teenage.
Yeah, no, it does. But then when I think of dance punk, what's called dance punk, I think of it as a slightly more mature version of that. And that's where I think they didn't quite, Relient K never got into it. Some people would say it. I don't agree that Relient K might have had like an emo phase. I definitely don't think that at all. I think this is more like their sort of stadium rock album.
Yeah, alternative.
Yeah.
It's all real alternative. The next song, I Need You, is to me very heavy and My Chemical Romance-y.
Right. But it's interesting that I've always felt that Relient K, and we've talked about this before, but I always felt that Relient K really, it doesn't exactly follow trends, but they kind of know the temperature of the world around them at a time.
Yeah.
It's actually really similar to They Might Be Giants up to a point where They Might Be Giants, each album has the tone of the period it was made in. Like their album John Henry just has, from a producing aspect, has a very, and that was released in 94, it has a very like, we're in the middle of the grunge era, right? And then their album Flood, which was released in 1990, the producing style has that very slick, like mall pop sound to it, even though the songs are completely not like that at all. That's one of their most classic albums. That's where Istanbul, Not Constantinople, and Particle Man and all the songs are on.
Right.
But when you listen to the instrumentation on that and the producing, it has that very slick early 90s thing you would think of, that very nostalgic tone. So I think Relient K kind of, and maybe it's the producers they work with, or maybe, I don't think it's the songs that Matt Thiessen or the rest of the band would be writing at the time. I think it might just be the way they approach each album. They kind of have a vibe for what's going on in the world around them, and they take those unique personal songs that Matt and the rest of the band write, and they kind of are able to shape it into something that fits the mold or fits the shelf at the time. And this sounds to me like 2007, but it was a little bit more vague than that. Like at the time I didn't think, oh, I'm listening to another 2007 pop rock album. I felt it was different. I felt it was a little different. I felt like I was listening to classic Relient K, just a little heavier. But now when I listen back to it, I hear that tone of 2007.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of do and don't agree with you on that. I think some of them are very... the thing I think that I just really love about the first three albums is that they weren't necessarily what was popular at the time. They were very much just doing their own thing, and whatever was, in between 2000 and 2004, they were just completely doing their own thing. And then with and every subsequent album after that, it has been in the style of what is sort of the popular music of the time. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Bands absolutely can and should grow. But yeah, I think that, and we talked about this last week with why we don't necessarily revisit a lot, is because it does feel very 2004.
Yeah.
It does feel very of its time. And this album, I actually feel doesn't have as much of that, or at least the songs that I like to revisit off this album are timeless. With being cheesy, but like they're sort of timeless, like The Best Thing and Must Have Done Something Right and Faking My Own Suicide don't really fall into what was popular at the time, whereas like this song and I Need You and some of the other heavier kind of songs off this album do fall into that category a little bit.
Right. If you want to dig into the lyrics on this song.
Sure. Let's do it.
So if you remember how we talked about how Pressin' On almost works as a sequel song to Hello McFly, because in Hello McFly it's all about being worried about the past and the mistakes you've made and wishing you could go back and change them, and then Pressing On is like the next step up from that, where it's accepting your mistakes and going forward and learning from them. This song is almost kind of a sequel in a way to The One I'm Waiting For, because The One I'm Waiting For, you have a couple that's like on the skids, like they're having some sort of trouble, and the song itself, as we talked about, I feel leaves it open, where you could say it's a song about a breakup, or you could say it's a song about a couple having trouble that they might work through. It all depends on what you as the listener bring to the song. Whereas this song is clearly about a couple that is about to break up. That's what it is, right? So you don't have to think of it as a sequel to The One I'm Waiting For, but you could take this song if you wanted to and weave a narrative. I don't know. Didn't bother looking up if this song is about the same person that last week's song was about. I personally, it doesn't really matter to me. I think this song speaks to people who have gone through this kind of situation where you basically are in a relationship where you know things aren't right and you kind of know you would be better apart, but neither of you wants to hurt the other one, where you still kind of care about each other and love each other, but you're not working out together. And one of you eventually says, just say it, like we're both beating around the bush. Maybe one of you wants to break up more than the other. Maybe one of you thinks it could work, but the other one is not going to, So it leaves a little bit of that gray area that The One I'm Waiting For had, but it's clearly about a couple that's about to break up.
Yeah, do you know what that's like, Dan?
Yeah, I know a little bit what that's like.
Has there ever been anyone that you're just like, hey, just come right out and say it to?
Yeah, I've been in a situation like that before. And maybe years later, whenever I talk about that story, maybe that person is like, shut up. I don't know, maybe she feels bad when I bring up that story from our past. And she's like, I don't want to think about that. And I'm like, it's fine. It all worked out in the end. Because literally the story in this song happened to Jessica and I. Which is funny, because now that I think about it, this was the album out at the time. But, yeah, Jessica and I at one point...
But it was from before. This was our Come Right Out and Say It was before this album came out.
Oh, was it?
It was. We dated briefly in 2006 and got back together in 2007.
When did we get back together? Do you remember the date? What movie did we do? Because one of our first dates was Clerks 2, and the other first date was Knocked Up.
Yes, and I can never remember which one came out when.
Let's look it up real quick.
Also epic first date movies.
Clerks 2 came out in July 2006.
Okay.
So that was our first date, and Knocked Up was our second date. So yeah, so we dated around July 2006, and then probably August 2006, Jessica's not really returning my calls. Like, we still see each other at school. She's like a little bit distant. I'm like, do you want to go do something? She's like, oh, maybe. And then I'm finally at her house one day, and I'm like, I can tell something's up. What's the matter? And you're like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, what's the problem? Because she actually, I think you had told me you had something you need to tell me. But then by the time I saw you, you were like, no, don't worry about that. Like, you were ready to break up with me when you sent me a message, right? But by the time I saw you, the timeline had changed. And you're like, now's not the time to break up with you, but break up with Danny. But then I was like, no, I know something's wrong. What's the matter? What's the matter? And part of me was hoping it wasn't you going to break up with me, but that's what it was. And I was literally like, why don't you come out and say it? And then she was like, fine, I don't think we should see each other anymore. And I was like, fine. I don't remember how I reacted, but I wasn't like totally devastated because I was devastated for sure, but I wasn't like, I knew it was coming basically. However, and I don't know how Matt Thiessen was when he wrote this song, but I was an awful boyfriend the first time we went out. I was super clingy. I was like, I did not know how to go from like really great friendship to boyfriend. Like I had always seen other people try to do that and fail, and I was like, and I thought I had it figured out. I'm like, when you go from friend to boyfriend, you just stay friends. You just keep being friends, but it's subtle than that. There's a difference, and I didn't understand that at the time. But also, I didn't really do that.
I'm just gonna plead the fifth.
But it all worked out.
It all worked out in the end. No,
yes.
It was. You were very sweet, and I had very different relationships in the past, where I was not used to being with someone who was quite so affectionate. So 36 text messages in one day and 7 calls
Shut
a day
up.
was a little much. And this was not, now mind you, we all are like, oh yeah, 36 texts. I totally do that in a day. This was back when you had flip phones and you had to press the number pad to spell out words.
So I could do that kind of texting really fast. You're gonna blame me for it? No, I
love you.
I love you too. I was clingy, and like you were, it all worked out.
It all worked out because you know
It needed to happen. I know it needed to happen. And the thing is, once in a while, I bring up this story only because it works as a perfect timestamp for some other story I'm telling. Like I'm telling some other story. And I'm like, oh, this would have been like a month or two after you broke up with me, and then Jessica gets mad at me.
Danny's stories always have a timestamp of before we met, before we dated, when you broke up with me, and then everything after.
Right. So yeah.
But it did need to happen because, we both walked away and we both grew as people
and
apart.
We weren't even broken up for a year.
No, it was like 6 or 7 months, I think.
Well,
and then we got back together.
Now let's look at when Knocked Up came out.
Oh, there we go.
Because all you have to do... Oh, it was just... Wait. Oh. It might have been just short. Oh, no. Yeah. It was 11. It was about 10, 11 months.
Oh, really?
Because
I thought it was 7.
Knocked Up came out on June 1st, 2007. And Clerks 2 came out on July 21st, 2006.
But we dated for a month and a half.
You're right.
Or 2 months. The first time.
I don't know. I didn't write down the date when you broke up with me.
I think we dated for like 2 months the first time.
I burnt everything else that you ever gave me. In a shoebox in a derelict warehouse.
He didn't do that.
I didn't do that at all. But yeah, so it all worked out in the end. But now I have a much better connection and understanding of this song. Because it's like, why don't you come out and say it? And she did. And I was like, why don't you go back and unsay that? And she was like, I can't. And I was like, fine. We'll break up and we'll get married someday.
Look, not every 19-year-old girl wants to hear on their first date that you want to be.
No. We're not putting that in the podcast.
You're not going to put that in? It's sweet, Danny. It's
no, it's not.
Sweet.
No, it's not.
It's so sweet. You want to sound like you've dated somebody before.
No, I don't. Why. No, I don't. You're the only person I ever dated, and we'll put that in the podcast. I don't mind everyone knowing that. Well, maybe it's worse. I'm stopping you from saying that, but I don't want... That's so embarrassing. No. It's... Yeah. I was in love with you. Well, if you want to know what it was I said to Jessica that I'm too embarrassed to let out right now, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Sadie Hawkinspod. It wasn't upsetting. It was a very sweet thing that a 19-year-old girl, when you've only been dating for a day or two, doesn't want to hear. Maybe it's something you want to hear after a year or two. Maybe it's something you want to hear right before a marriage proposal. Maybe it's equal to a marriage proposal, but you're a 19-year-old girl dating a 22-year-old, doesn't want to hear that 23-year-old. Is that problematic? That's not problematic.
Recording like 90-degree weather is such a bad idea.
So moving on. So pressing on. This song is it's like the most relatable song that I, for that reason, for me. But
I never had to come right out and say it. I mean, outside of you and I, where I was...
You were the one who had to come right out and say it.
All the rest of the times, it was like I got dumped and I was just like completely blindsided by it.
Yeah. I didn't find any people's like genius.coms or songmeanings.com. Did you find songmeanings.com for this?
Oh, I sure did.
Because I'm wondering, did you find people who thought this was some sort of metaphor for Christ or the second coming again, like last week?
As a matter of fact.
Because again, this is just a relationship song. This is a crossover mainstream hit. I don't see any religious allegory in this song. It doesn't make sense, but I'm interested to hear if other people felt differently.
So Hobo Joe 333,
Yep.
12 years ago,
Okay.
said, personally, I think it's about witnessing to someone that just won't listen. Particularly the, but later on, after I'm gone, you'll wish that you had listened to me. It just seems apt. And...
well, you know what? Is there more to it?
Well, to follow that up,
Because...
Akisak replied to that, lyric-wise, this song reminds me of From End to End a little, and I guess I would support Ho-Ho Joe's theory.
Hobo Hojos. First of all, I don't want to hear a religious theory on this song from someone who has half the number of the beast in their name. But I would say that theory, while I don't agree with it, I can give some leeway and a little bit more understanding to that idea, that someone would have that idea. When you try to put a religious allegory on the one that I'm waiting for, I just flat out, it's just so clearly about someone's feelings for another person, like someone's romantic feelings for another person.
Right.
It's so clearly not a religiously themed song, even in a masked way. This one, I feel the same way about, but maybe it's because there's less pronouns in this song. Maybe it's because it doesn't paint the same kind of picture for the specific. Basically, I'm just saying that I would give that a little bit more credit. Like, I wouldn't give it credibility, but I give it credit. I'm like, I don't see it, but if someone sees it that way,
Right. There's a few more people on here who reference witnessing.
okay. I mean, I'd have to think about it. So basically, they're saying that someone is trying to teach another person about Christ, and I'm working through their theory here. I'm like,
Right.
so because the song is like, and I don't like making songs too literal, but again, I just hear a very specific idea put forward, a feeling of one-to-one from what the song is supposed to be into my head. It seems like it is about a guy who is talking to his girlfriend or his romantic relationship, and they are saying to him, they are holding something back, and he says, I know something's wrong. There's something you want to say. Why don't you just come out and say it? Because the truth might hurt, but it'll do us better. It'll do us both better to just deal with it now and not just string it along. Yeah. Right? So that's what the song, I believe, is absolutely about. Now,
Here are the lyrics.
okay.
I better rest my eyes because I'm growing weary of this point you've been trying to make. So rather than imply, why don't you just verbalize all the things that you're trying to say?
See, that makes it tougher for me to think it's about witnessing to someone about Christ. But continue.
Someone references the I better rest my eyes part. Does that have biblical implications?
I mean, if people need to rest their eyes,
yeah.
God created eyeballs,
Yeah.
so I suppose it goes back to that. But no, it's like a guy who's totally worn out emotionally because they've been fighting, but neither of them are saying what they really feel.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, this first paragraph, I feel, doesn't fit this theory that it's somehow an allegory for witnessing about Christ, because it's like, who needs to rest their eyes? The person who doesn't believe in Christ, or the person who's witnessing and does believe in Christ?
Yeah,
who needs to rest their eyes? Like, oh, I've been trying to witness to you and get you saved. I need to rest my eyes because I'm growing weary of this point you're trying to make about atheism.
Right. It would be very accusatory
right.
if that was what it was about.
Or it would be from the point of view of the person who doesn't believe in Christ. So it's like, I gotta rest my eyes because you've been talking to me about Christ all day and I just can't put up with this point you're trying to make. Either way, it makes it a really combative song.
It does.
A much more, like, Come Right Out and Say It as a relationship song is almost like it's sad, right? But it's almost like
it's a very true
dramatic.
feeling.
It's very
dramatic,
true
yeah.
and dramatic and honest. It's almost like both of them need to find bravery in their relationship to deal with it.
It's something that almost anyone who's ever been in a relationship can relate to.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even have to be about a breakup. It could just be that, like, you're arguing with someone or you've been having, you know, some relationship issues and you're like, I wish that you just come out right out and say exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Instead of beating around the bush.
Right. But when you make this about witnessing to someone about Christ, it becomes combative and, like, not hopeful. Basically, what I was thinking was...
It almost becomes anti-Christian.
Yeah. Even though this is a breakup song, like what I said about as an album, how a lot of it is about much more desperate and upsetting themes, but Matt Thiessen and Relient K, they have such a hopeful spin on everything that they can take those sort of like more upsetting ideas about pain and hurt and death and taxes and all that stuff, and they can make it more hopeful. And every song on that, while, you know, slightly more desperate, is hopeful. This song, again, is about a breakup, but in a way I hear it and I hear a hopefulness. Like, we are going to have one of the worst times in our life working through this breakup right now, but somehow it's something about the music, something about maybe later in the song and the lyrics is like they're both gonna get through it, and they're both gonna learn to grow apart, and they're gonna learn to maybe hopefully respect each other again someday. You know, like, there's a hopefulness to it. When you make it about witnessing in Christ and it's two people combatively fighting with each other, it's like, well, you're not even implying like a middle ground when you make it about that. You're not saying that either person is understanding the other person, so it makes it a much more dark song. Especially
when you stop and you look at the chorus of this song, it's very much about a relationship.
Here's a line. Thought I could make up your mind. You had a decision locked up so tight. No Christian trying to get someone else to convert to Christianity they might actually feel this or think this if they're not thinking of it properly, but no one's going to openly say, I thought I could make up your mind to believe in Christ. That's such an awful way to look at it. I'm sure there are people who think about, not just in Christianity, but in all religions, are like, I want to force you to be part of my religion. I mean, that's what wars, that's what causes religious wars. But like, no band, no Christian work of art would ever, I feel like, admit in this way. It's like, I'm gonna make up your mind and I'm gonna make you believe in my religion. Like, that's so aggressive. I really don't think that this fits at all.
Yeah, the chorus, why don't you come right out and say it? Even if the words are probably gonna hurt, I'd rather have the truth than something insincere. And why don't you come right out and say it? What is your thinking? Though I'm thinking it's not what I want to hear. That completely negates the theory that it's about witnessing or testifying or any of that to anyone.
Because again, like, in order to do that, it would have to be from the point of view of the person who doesn't believe in Christ. Right. So like, you could make an argument that the person who doesn't believe in Christ but maybe wants to is being witnessed to, and they're like, why don't you just go ahead and say that my soul's going to hell or whatever? It's going to hurt to hear. Why don't you say that I've been sinning and all this stuff? It's going to hurt to hear, but you could write a similar song on that, but all the other stuff around this makes it too much like an attack.
And every other Relient K song that has been written about Christianity has never taken that standpoint.
Right. I mean, on the first album,
they get a little accusatory,
towards like sin and like and when we get to those songs, like maybe mislabeling what things are sin and when you feel guilt and how much guilt you feel, like things that maybe we don't Jessica and I don't necessarily agree with on how some Christians might feel about those topics of sin and stuff. But
they're still not attacking anyone through like trying to convert them or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Marilyn Manson Ain't My Girlfriend is like the prime example where it's like this person used to believe in Christ, now they believe in sin, right? Like that's way too strong.
But also that was 2000 and this is 2007 and Relient has grown so much since then that they haven't had another one of those kinds of songs.
Right.
That I can't see it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really, I mean, I like that. It's interesting. I mean, I like it as a discussion topic, but I don't agree with the idea in general.
I mean, although that is an issue that I have with people who go out trying to convert others, I've always had sort of a more laid back approach to my faith and Christianity. Mm-hmm. And
I think that's the churches that we grew up in, because the churches you grew up in as a kid.
Very open, very loving.
Very open and sort of like just finding other people through conversation and through community. Whereas I went to a number of different types of Christian churches. Like I actually went to, throughout my life, I went to a lot of different denominations. So I've actually had sort of like a sampling board of what kind of attitudes different Christian denominations take towards converting and witnessing and like aggressively, going down the street and like preaching directly to people, and then other people who are like just it's just your neighbors and your friends, like just lead by example. Like I've seen every side of it, whereas Jessica really only had, I don't mean to speak for you at this point, but I know we've talked about this in the past. You were kind of raised in one sort of church setting, and so you have one very sort of lead by example point of view on Christianity, whereas I do understand, because I went to these type of churches at different points in my life, the aggressive witnessing concept of Christianity.
Right.
So I can see how people who have been raised in those type of churches, or even personally do have that belief, might actually see that in this song.
Everyone is saying Gabbo this and Gabbo that, but nobody's saying worship this and Jericho that.
It's true.
Maybe They're Just Shoes can clear this up for us.
Okay.
12 years ago, They're Just Shoes said, "This is a really awesome song. I love it a lot. I can really relate to it. It seems like people often express the exact same sentiments towards me. It made me realize that sometimes hiding behind a mask of smiles and whatevers isn't always incredibly happy for the people I'm talking to. And sometimes what they really want is my opinion."
I didn't quite follow. But they're not talking about relationships. They're just talking about like opinions and conversation.
Well, they're talking about relationships, but not just with girls, with everyone.
I see. Now you speak in my language.
Dag_102 said, "This is the first I really listened to. I knew the promo was another. Anyway, it's really, really good. They always choose their words to speak their minds. It's awesome.
They do.
Not overwrought, completely honest, and you can feel what they sung about, in this case, a breakup."
There you go. What was his name?
Dag_102.
Dag_102 came right out and said it, and I agree. They do choose their words.
This song actually helped some people, Danny.
Did it?
It did. Alicia Marie 2007 said, "I'm going to have to say this is one of those amazing songs that will speak to almost any situation. It's helping me make an enormous relationship decision right now. Relient K is amazing. They are one of my go-to bands for when I'm feeling down or I'm in a less than happy situation. The other band being the Goo Goo Dolls. Beautiful, full of wisdom, and showing an incredible amount of love for God."
The Goo Goo Dolls do show an incredible amount of love for God. I love the Goo Goo Dolls. I actually really like them.
I don't know any Goo Goo Doll songs.
Am I going to have to sing a song to you? I don't want to have to name, slide. Do you know the song from Angels and Airwaves? No, what's it called? Angels in America? No, what's it called? It's called Nick Cage is an angel and that dumb lady rides her bike off a mountain or whatever.
City of Angels.
City of Angels,
Yep,
where we live.
City of Angels, yeah.
Remember that movie? Remember the theme
do.
song to that movie?
No.
You know Goo Goo Dolls. Black Balloon, that's my favorite Goo Goo Doll song. You know Black Balloon?
No.
Baby's Black Balloon makes her fly.
I do know Balloon Ride, though, by Relient K.
That's the connection. There you go. When we talk about Balloon Ride, we definitely have to talk about Black Balloon by Goo Goo Dolls. Although for Balloon Ride, I've been trying to convince Jessica that we actually need to record the podcast on a balloon ride. Like up in the sky over like San Francisco or something.
Won't it be so noisy though? Because they have to like do the they have to like shush the fire up into the thing to keep it afloat.
Yeah, but we'll see everything from up there.
That is true. We could do it from a plane. We could see everything from up there too.
Yeah, but that's not a balloon.
I guess that's true. This is the first song that in my Google deep dives I found the most lyric conversions for.
Into other languages?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found those on YouTube as well. You found these like as posts, as blog posts or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other songs we've covered so far have had that, but this one has been the widest range of languages that I've seen.
Right. Maybe that's just the reach of this album and how it was such a huge seller.
Yeah, I think so.
And more people around the world, or even just more people in America, or wherever the album sold well, there's more people there that speak more languages. So.
Yeah, this was their top selling album, which I always think it's but it's not. It is 5 score.
Yeah, I found a lot of those YouTube videos. In fact, if that could lead us into the things I did find on YouTube.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yep, I do find those they're often just a YouTube video or like a slideshow of the band, and then they have the translated lyrics sort of as subtitles. I find a lot of those videos, but I've never brought them to the podcast because what are we going to talk about with them? But yeah, you're right. There were a lot of those on YouTube. But before we get to that, here is the band. We'll start like usual with the band itself with things that I found on YouTube.
All right.
Here is, and again, just like I found with the last 2 albums, there's a lot of people shooting videos on tours with their phone cameras, and the audio is almost always blown out, right? So it's like not worth us listening to.
Right.
Finally, for this one, I figured out, okay, I need to look for people's YouTube videos from tours where they recorded their favorite song, where they're further back. Because whenever I get these front row videos, it's like there's nothing for us to listen to. So this one, they're way back, so the audio is a little bit better. We have about 1 minute and 20 seconds of Come Right Out and Say It from a hometown show in Columbus, Ohio.
Ooh. Yeah, this song's a headbanger. I was just like bopping my head along.
Actually, everyone in this crowd is moving to this song.
Yeah.
It's great. 2014 is what I said? Yeah, 2014, yep.
Yeah, this is definitely a get up and move kind of song.
Yeah, and I like Matt Thiessen sort of like lagging the lyrics back a little bit on purpose, like not hitting the time exactly right. I love that. That's great. I always love that. With any band, if you purposely kind of like hold back the lyric and
I bet this would be a really nice song done acoustically. It's kind of slowed down.
Well, I did find acoustic covers.
Oh.
I didn't find any official acoustic covers.
Okay.
Which was surprising, to be honest. I would think this would be one that the band themselves would have played acoustic, but before we get to that, we have one more sort of official-ish video, and that is this one is from our buddy John Schneck. I don't know if I'm being uncool at pointing this out, but so far the only member of the band that we know is following us on Twitter, at least, is John Schneck, and this is the album he joined on. And we found, I was like, oh, hey, look at this. In 2008, he uploaded a video of himself giving a tutorial on how to play this song.
That's so cool. Yeah, he's been very cool,
Yeah,
very nice.
He's been very supportive of the podcast so far. All right.
I like that blues opening.
Hey there. What's up? This is John from Relient, and I've been getting a lot of email requests asking how to play certain songs of ours, and I don't have the tab written down for them, so I thought I'd just show you. So, yeah, here we go.
I appreciate that in this video from an official band member in 2008, he still goes for the slightly cursed video style of 2008, where he wasn't exactly framed up. I mean, wherever he's recording in is lit properly, so it is not that cursed. But he like his full face wasn't in the frame.
Yeah, because you have to show the fretboard and what all you need to be hitting.
That makes sense.
Okay, the first song I want to show you is the bridge riff to Come Right Out and Say It from 7 years ago. I've gotten a lot of emails asking how to play that riff going into the bridge there. Yeah, it's one of my favorite riffs that Matt wrote on the record. And first thing I should say is that it's we tuned down a half step, and it's in drop D, or drop C sharp.
Ooh, drop D.
So,
Getting
I'll
funky.
play it at full speed, and then I'll break it down and show you guys how to play it. Alright, so
Sweet.
I like it.
Did you want to watch more of this, or you got the idea? I mean, we should watch this whole video later.
I know. I'm gonna go watch this whole video later.
Make
I'm
our
really
own cover.
excited.
Yeah. Yeah, this video is 5 minutes, but it's pretty awesome. And it's nice to hear it's kind of broken down like that. Actually hear that riff.
I love it when members of the band do videos where they show you like how to play their songs. That's really nice, because it's, other than that, it's always just people guessing how it's done, like just tooling around with the song,
Right.
and being like, okay, this is how I think it makes this, and I think this is what does that. I really like it when a member of the band does it.
There's a video of Tom Wisniewski from MXPX for guitar.com, right? And this video existed before YouTube. So I probably saw it in like Real Player, like I probably had to download it or watch it streaming, like embedded in guitar.com. And I don't think he talks about like how to play any MXPX song specifically, but he just talks about his guitar technique and how he learned to play it. But that video, guitar.com apparently still exists, and they put it in like an archive on their YouTube channel. I finally saw it again.
Cool.
I'm like, oh, this is great, because this is like early internet, and I'm like reliving it, because so much early internet stuff is just dead and gone. And I was like, oh, that video is where I learned about the Descendants, because nobody ever came along to me and said, check out the Descendants. But it was Tom Wisniewski talking about, how he got interested in guitar and what styles he was trying to like do in his own guitar work. And he said, oh, the Descendants, and he probably mentioned some other bands, but I was like, I gotta check out the Descendants. Maybe I'd seen some tattoos and shirts.
Nice.
But in the 90s and the early 2000s, like before you have Napster or whatever, you can't really check out bands easily. Especially like I probably didn't even have a car yet. I couldn't just like, oh, the Descendants are playing, let me go to their concert and check them out. So I was like, no, I definitely need to check them out. I'll love them because Tom Wisniewski said I would. Yeah.
I've watched Phil Collin from Def Leppard do a lot of these for like different guitar companies.
Did he have his shirt on? Probably not.
And he doesn't need one.
There aren't any other sessions or alternate versions of this song that I found, but I did find, as I mentioned before, the Nightcore version. And so I guess you hadn't heard of Nightcore before. I barely know what it is, but it's basically just a sped up song. It's basically just the song, any song. There's Nightcore versions of everything out there. And I don't know if Nightcore is a very specific percentage of the song sped up or what. But it's a sped up version of the song. It's usually accompanied with some sort of anime art. I get that there's an appeal to it, because when I was a kid and I was first experimenting with like my early PC on the internet, I would make wave files of songs and like run them backwards and like splice them up and speed them up. I did all this kind of stuff for fun, but I didn't find out for years later that lots of other people were doing that, and that it actually, you know, these movements, these memes have names, and in this case it's called Nightcore. So I sent that to you if you want to come right out and play it. It's pretty good, right?
Let family fun reign with a McDonald's Happy Meal.
It's an ad for the...
Thanks a lot, Danny. Disney's going to sue us now.
Oh, man, you're right.
I better rest my eyes, cause I'm growing weary of this point you've been trying to make. So rather than imply, why don't you just verbalize all the things that you're trying to say? How does it turn out so well? But I'm beginning to see that instead it's trouble into a pattern we fell of prolonging the inevitable. Why don't you come right out and say it? Even if the words are probably gonna hurt, I'd rather have the truth than something insincere. Why don't you come right out and say it? What it is you're thinking, though I'm thinking it's not what I wanna hear.
Man, this girl's great. Who is this?
So I get the idea. I thought it was a hamster singing. So yeah, I get, like, Nightcore just kind of is like, you kind of see something else from the song when it's sped up, and I guess like the anime part of it is maybe anime music is a lot faster. Maybe it makes it almost more anime-esque. Because we missed it before, actually. Real quick, here's the Nightcore of Pressin' On. There's not a Nightcore for every song, and in fact, we could just make Nightcore songs for everything if we wanted to. But in terms of things that are on YouTube, at the time, I forgot to play Nightcore for Pressin' On. Let's get some lyrics in a second.
That's great. That made it makes it like skate punk. I like it.
I'm pressing on, pressing on. All my distress is going on. Pressing on.
Yeah, a total instrumental version of that would just be like skate punk.
Right. I think sometimes Nightcore, you can't really even play it that fast, though, in real life.
Oh, yeah.
So...
I just wish there were 8-bit versions of everything.
Yeah, I didn't find an 8-bit version of this. Now we can get into covers, and we have... I like this one. I gotta send you the video for this one.
Okay.
Alright guys, I'm going to do a voice cover of Come Around and Say It by Relient, and I hope you love it.
Oh, it's Bobby Moon. We met Bobby Moon previously.
Oh, yeah.
He was on Chapstick, Chaplips, and Things Like Chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does not know how to turn the camera to the other side.
The camera is completely turned to the wrong direction. And I don't know if he's recording on a phone.
It's in portrait mode.
Yeah.
But he's sideways.
But also the video is uploaded in widescreen. At least for me. Does it look like it? Maybe that's the...
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's uploaded in a widescreen format, but then there's a square actual image in the middle that he's got turned sideways. Jessica's tilting her head. So yeah, first return cover person, and he's just going to do a vocal cover. He's not going to play those chords that he figured out on his own.
All right.
I better rest my eyes, cause I'm growing weary of this point you've been trying to make. So rather than imply, but don't you just verbalize all the things that you're trying to say. I guess I turned out so well, cause I'm beginning to see that instead it's trouble into a pattern we fell.
That's one banging cover.
Did you see his movements?
I did.
Yeah, he's like bouncing. He's
doing a shimmy.
Bobbing his head. Bobby Moon is awesome. Bobby Moon is high energy assault. He's banging his head to this part of the song. Good job, Bobby. So like I said, I did find covers for this. It took some digging. They didn't come up right away. Actually, you probably don't need to click this. It's just a SoundCloud, but I will play this by Alicia Ann Denning. I mean, I sent you the link so at least you can see her picture.
It's cute.
It looks country-ish from the picture. She's like wearing jeans, got her acoustic guitar, sitting on a porch, sitting up on the banister of a porch. Let's see what she sounds like. Oh, and this is, like I said before, a bunch of these covers we're gonna cold listen to together because I was researching in front of you and I didn't want to spoil the surprise for you.
There's some hay in the background there on the porch.
Oh yeah, there is.
I better rest my eyes, 'cause I'm growing weary of this.
There's a like a he. I'm not complaining because our podcast has the refrigerator and stuff in the background, but there's some sort of digital interference right off
What
the
you've
bat.
been trying to make, so rather than imply, why don't you just verbalize all the things that you're trying to say? Thought this would turn out so well, but I'm beginning to see that instead it's trouble. Into a pattern we fell, prolonging the inevitable. Why don't you come out and say it? Even if the words are probably gonna hurt, I'd rather have the truth than something insincere. Why don't you come out and say what it is you're thinking, though I'm thinking it's not what I want to hear.
Very pretty. I like
Yeah.
that, Alicia.
Yeah, that was good. So then the next one we've got is Alexandra Z Hardcore. Alexandra Z HXC. So I don't know if that means this is a hardcore cover or what.
Ooh.
Let's find out. Again, I didn't listen to this. We're going to hear it together. Oh man, so hardcore.
Why don't you just verbalize all these things you've been trying to say? How did it turn out so well? Well, I'm beginning to see that instead it's trouble. Into a pattern.
It's my favorite song from Juno.
So many Juno covers of Relient K.
Yeah. So many.
Even if the words are probably gonna hurt, I'd rather have the truth than something insincere. Why don't you come right out and say it? 'Cause what it is you're thinking, though I'm thinking it's not what I wanna hear.
That's a... Oop, whoa.
Uh-oh.
SoundCloud. So, yeah, that was... She cut it down to just a minute long. She just basically did the brevity.
that was the full thing?
Yeah, that was her
Oh,
full
wow.
version of the song. It was called Come Right Out and Say It by Relient K.
Nice. I liked the vocals. She sounded like, oh, who is that girl that I liked a lot a few weeks ago with the...
with the cover of... Ruthie. Ruthie... Hold on. Let me look. Ruthie Vaughn was who did the cover of Chapstick, and then we listened to her Lana Del Rey cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has a similar thing. This girl had a similar thing going on with her voice.
Yeah. You like those heartfelt, sort of downbeat female vocals.
Yeah.
Very sort of indie.
Yes.
Sort of like could be set to some sort of like coming of age millennial movie.
Exactly.
Let's see what else we have. There is another Anne. There's a lot of Annes because there was Elisa Ann Denning, and now there's Anne Reburn. Oh no, you know what? This is a cover of Must Have Done Something Right. So I don't know why It's still fun.
It is. I think we'll get a lot of covers for that one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I must have come up, it must have come up in a search, but that is not the correct song. So let's see. We also have Cardboard Democracy. Again,
name.
with Must Have Done Something Right. Oh, is it Come Right Out and Say It? Oh, you know what? I wrote Come Right Out and Say It, and then the search results like, oh, did you mean Must Have Done Something Right? Because it has the same word in the cover. And it has the same word in the title. So, nope. You know what? I found less covers than I thought. Because I was looking for covers, and there weren't a lot around. I didn't understand. I thought there would be more covers than that. So eventually on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, I started finding them, and I got too excited because they were all Must Have Done Something Right. Here's what I think might be the So yeah, here's the last cover then that I actually have, which isn't Must Have Done Something Right. This is Come Right Out and Say It, performed by Silas Storm in 2013. And this one I did watch ahead of time. He's playing a guitar, but he kind of plays it in a ukulele style, so it's sort of a backdoor ukulele cover.
I better rest my eyes, 'cause I'm growing weary of this point you've been trying to make. So rather than imply, why don't you just verbalize all the things that you're trying to say? Thought this would turn out so well, but I'm beginning to see that instead it's trouble. Into a pattern we fell of prolonging the inevitable. Why don't you come right out and say it? Even if the words are probably gonna hurt, I'd rather have the truth than something insincere. Why don't you come right out and say what it is you're thinking? Though I'm thinking it's not what I wanna hear.
So that's that's interesting. Actually, he put a little stank on it. He just got a little like if there's a little drum beat going. It's like, why don't you come right out and say? I like that. That's the first one that really sort of added something to the song, whereas a lot of the other heartfelt acoustic versions kind of stripped the song down. He kind of added a little extra to it. And I'm not just being nice for the sake of being nice. I actually feel that way about this one.
Sure.
You just looked at me like, yeah, you're out of your mind. Well, there's also, this does not count as a cover, but apparently there's a Buffalo Springsteen song. No, a Buffalo Springfield song.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm not familiar with Buffalo Springsteen. Is that a band that just plays Springsteen and Buffalo Springfield covers? Because that would be a great crossover band right there.
It would be, and they could play Do I Have to Come Out and Say It?
And to make it, but I'm losing time. I gotta bring you in.
Ooh.
Oh, what just happened?
SoundCloud again. Decides how much it's going to play for you. So that's that.
Man, I was really getting into that. I was like,
Yeah.
we just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yesterday.
know.
I was getting into the vibe.
Then there is this. This is the last.
I thought you only had the one cover left.
No. There's on covers now. These are other things that have similar titles.
Oh, okay.
And I found a lot of stuff with other similar titles, but the only two I felt like playing were Buffalo Springsteen. I know I said it wrong that time. And this pop punk band called What Comes Next, Come Right Out and Say It. Skip ahead a little bit.
This band isn't sure if it's 2005 or 1986.
Exactly. See, maybe that guy who wrote that article about how Relient K would have been more popular if only they were from Southern California and how they ripped off Blink-182, maybe he was actually thinking of the band What Comes Next. Maybe someone was like, oh, you should write an article about Relient K. He's like, who's Relient K? He's like, oh, they have that song Come Right Out and Say It. And he did a little Google search and he found this band Come Right Out and Say It. Oh, this must be, he forgot Relient K. He's like, oh, this must be the band they were talking about. So that's it for covers and songs that happen to be similar titles. So this week we again have, and I always say AMV because it means anime music video. It means you take a song and you splice together a bunch of clips from anime that you like.
Right.
But I use AMV for meaning any sort of fan edit of popular things, because when I used to search AMVs because I thought it was so cool, you'd see a lot of live action non-Japanese anime mixed in on those sites. So I just think of everything as an AMV.
AMVs are great and all, but they're nothing like AFVs.
America's Funniest Videos.
Exactly.
Well, you want to watch any of these? There's one for Twilight. There's one for the Naked Brothers Band. There's one for Hannah Montana. There's one for Naruto, which is an actual A. But then there's one for your fandom, Jessica.
Oh.
There you go. I just sent it to you. It's for Star Wars, the prequels.
Thanks for blowing up my spot, Dan.
Yeah, I know. It's for because when you think about it,
Oh my gosh, why?
when you think about it, when Anakin Skywalker killed Padme, it was basically like Padme was like, "Why don't you just come right out and say it?" And so Anakin was like, "Sure," and then he choked her to death.
Okay, he didn't kill Padme, Danny.
No, you're right. She died from a broken heart right after giving birth to twins, even though she was supposed to be alive when Princess Leia has memories of her.
Yeah.
Apparently that was a lie.
Yeah. I love that this goes from sad Padme into Youngling with Anakin's lightsaber coming out. And then just into him in Sith mode.
It is the best Star Wars movie, that's for sure.
What's funny is that this wasn't even my ship. I was in love
Your
with...
ship was you and Anakin Skywalker.
It's so true. Because I was in love with Anakin Skywalker. And man, I wrote not one, but 2 songs about my love of Anakin Skywalker.
I think you wrote one
school.
of... Didn't you write... No, they're both in high school. I thought you wrote one of them when you had met me already.
Oh, I did, because you know we had a class. Well, I don't know if I'd met you yet or not. Maybe we had a class where we had to learn like Pro Tools and stuff, and so we had to make like a song in it.
Right.
And I made one from my love of Anakin Skywalker. I had previously done one in high school though that was probably
People were
more
clamoring
clever.
for the follow-up.
Oh man. Were they ever? The second one was a little more risque too.
And to be honest, that's about it. That's all I have. I was not going to say, and to be honest, that's the moment I knew I was going to marry you. That's the moment I knew you were going to be...
Now they don't have to subscribe to the Patreon.
Oh, maybe we'll bleep that out.
I'm glad that you didn't call me out on my other fandom, though. I'm really happy about that.
We really missed our calling as people that upload creepy videos to YouTube set to Relient K stuff. We could have put a Relient K song in there. It would have been great. There's a whole world of it, and we're discovering it every week here on Sadie Hawkins Pod.
It's true.
And that's about it for Come Right Out and Say It. I feel like we gave you something sincere, which was better than the truth, which might have hurt. Or whatever. I don't know if I messed up those lyrics, but you get what I'm saying. It is so hot.
Thank you for bearing with us on this incredibly hot day.
Jessica's computer overheated at some points. Not just the host, but the actual equipment is overheating.
Yeah. It's sitting on top of a large cooling block right now.
Not a cooling block like a piece of technology that cools your computer off, but an actual block of ice for like putting on you know, swollen shoulders. I put it under Jessica's computer.
Yep.
So we will check you out. So stay cool out there, folks. And we will catch you next week.
Happy summer. Happy summer. Happy summer. Happy summer. Happy summer. Happy summer. Happy summer.